welcome back to my channel. I'm Nina. If you're new, I have been gone for quite a while, mostly due to an internship I was doing and just generally being really busy this semester. I'm enrolled in 2 degrees now, but it's a long story. But I've been really busy, but I have missed talking about tarot decks, so I'm back to do just a little review of this deck. I was very kindly sent this earlier this year by the creator, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's just taken me a really long time to pull together my thoughts on it, basically. And I really am excited to talk about it because it's a really unique and interesting collage deck. So if you like collage decks, you will like this one for sure. So this is the Tiger Tarot, and it is by Lori Fields. So it is a beautiful collage deck inspired by, well, I think it's inspired by a lot of different things, and there's some information on that in the booklet. But as the name implies, there are a lot of tigers in this deck. So it comes in this very, simple tuck box, which I like. Like, I don't think there needs to be a big fussy box necessarily for me to like a deck. And here it is. So this is kind of an interesting tarot deck because it changes some things and it adds some things. So the card size is, I would say, on the bigger side. It's maybe more like an oracle card size, maybe. For me, that's not a problem because I have pretty big hands and I can still shuffle with this just fine. The cardstock is really thin too, and that definitely makes it easier. Not really thin, but like thin and flexible enough to just be really easy to manipulate. It's smooth, so not like a linen finish, not matte, just kind of like a smooth, like, I guess like a semi-gloss finish. It's very nice, very usable. So I just really want to quickly show you guys the little guidebook. I think this guidebook is really good, especially since this deck makes some little changes. I do think it's like really nice to have. It's not too long, and it doesn't have like any I think it gets straight to the point, like in a good way. And I'll do a sample reading at the end of this video, and we can look at like what the entries in this guidebook say. But I wanted to read to you what this foreword says, because I think it's really nicely written. Tigers burn bright and flowers stand still in the sultry poetic planet that is Lori Fields' eye. At last transmuted into a tarot deck for our pleasure, the creatures and mischievous guardians the artist channeled over the years pounced off the walls of the museum to offer us a curious invitation, joining them into a game of cards, a playful intrigue in which we always win and learn. And so we jump, heart first, into Fields' jungle dream world, inviting her tiger seers into our daily rituals. As we lay the cards on the table, we open ourselves to an alternate reality, hiking through the forest of soft-spoken archetypal figures. Kind and sharp, their tender counsel helps us descend into the labyrinth-like depth of the soul, finding within us the crossroad in which nature's vibrant force and ours intersect. Join them, don't shy away. These eloquent beasts all have a message for you. Hold them in the palm of your hands and take a deep breath in and out. Soon you'll hear the poignant roar breathing life into their world, and soon into yours. So I don't really want to do like a full flip through. You can find those. I just kind of want to give you an idea of the cards, because whenever I buy a deck, I like to just like see a couple of cards, and if I like the style, then I know I'm gonna like it usually, and so I definitely don't mind doing that. So the changes that are made here is, you can see there is an eye suit, and you'll notice there isn't a pentacle suit. So the pentacle suit has been replaced with the eyes suit, or the suit of eyes. And this isn't just a name change. Like, I think the meanings are sort of slightly modified to align with this sort of structure. And in the introduction, it says that the suit of eyes substitutes the suit of pentacles, and the suit of eyes is more a power of understanding and responsible use of knowledge. Because of their foresight, they're discerning and thus wield their power for good, not evil, to progress humankind and to champion the underdog, not put the boot on someone's neck. So that's kind of a little different from like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith interpretation of pentacles, which is like work and money. So it's a little it's a little different. This is definitely like a more cosmic deck, or like a more like even psychedelic, I would say, just not only in the style but in the topics that it deals with and the definitions of the cards. I think definitely lean more like, you know, outside of the head, outside of like logical reasoning, which I really like. I think that's a great thing about it. So I just really quickly want to show an example of the 6 suits, or the 6 court cards. This is the suit of cups, and I just want to show the 2 additional ones. So this is the page of cups, which is standard. Tiger jumpsuit, very cool. There's a lot of roses in this deck and a lot of bugs. This is the Knight of Cups. I also wanted to show this just so that you're aware there are some cards that are horizontal in this deck. So if that's like a deal breaker for you, the fact that it's not consistent, then, you know, now you know. But personally, it doesn't bother me for this deck because it's a collage deck. I think it's, I don't know, it just kind of makes sense with like the collage style. Just like when I imagine everything laid out, having some of them be horizontal just makes sense stylistically to me. But here's the Knight of Cups. Here's the Prince of Cups. Very chaotic. Some of the cards like are really depicting like a pretty clear scene and have a pretty clear figure, like you can see here. And some of them are kind of more reminiscent of like the Voyager Tarot, where it's basically just a bunch of images all put together and you just sort of are like picking and choosing what to look at and what to interpret from all of those images. It's like less like a cohesive scene. This is still kind of a cohesive scene, but you'll see that there are lots of cards like that. So, you know, it's like a good mix of both. Definitely like challenging, I would say. But if you're experienced with collage decks, then it's nothing new, and it's really well done in this deck. This is the Queen of Cups. Got a little tiger tail coming out. The King of Cups. And the Soothsayer of Cups. So let me just really quickly explain what the purpose of these new court cards is supposed to be. So the Soothsayer card is the most powerful and pivotal card in the deck. They see everything, they're the conductors, we are the orchestra. So they're kind of supposed to be, I would say like maybe on the level, I've been reading them as if they're kind of on the level of a major arcana in terms of like their importance, like the major arcana of a court card, if that makes sense, like the most important, and the most sort of all-powerful. And the Prince card is, let's see what it says here. The princes represent a non-binary, more inclusive and less traditional interpretation of what it means to be a prince, less royal and removed, more a prince among ordinary citizens. They're in tune with the people's struggles and triumphs. So I feel like the way that the prince is interpreted, like the meanings in the guidebook kind of vary pretty considerably depending on the suit. So I'll pull up the Prince of Cups here. So this is the guidebook for the Prince of Cups. You can pause to read it if you'd like. And here is the Soothsayer of Cups as well. I think these descriptions are really helpful and well done. So this little guidebook is like, I think really a big part of what makes this deck for me. And I also just really quickly wanted to mention that the Suit of Eyes has a Soothsayer of Eyes, but for this printing of the deck, Laurie Field added this Soothsayer of Sleep to, it's listed under the Suit of Eyes, so I'm just assuming it's part of the Suit of Eyes. So let me pull up the meaning of that one for you. So here is the Soothsayer of Sleep and the Soothsayer of Lives definitions, or yeah, descriptions. So they're kind of unique to this printing. So I just really quickly, before we do the sample draw, I want to talk about like just what it's been like working with this deck. You know, obviously this is a very personal experience. I have only ever really used this deck outside when I was back home in San Francisco. I have a little yard there, not here, unfortunately. but I would take this deck outside all the time and read out on my patio with it, and it just felt really well suited to that, like especially on sunny days. In like May, I was using it a lot like that. And then once I came here, I would take it on picnics a lot. It's just like a very outdoorsy deck to me. Also, forgive my terrible shuffling. It's not through the fault of this deck, like I'm just bad. But yeah, overall, I think this has been really great to work with. I mean, I said earlier that it's like an advanced deck, but I'm definitely not like an advanced reader, I would say. I'm like intermediate. And this is very usable, especially with the guidebook, obviously, but if you have traditional tarot associations, I think you can definitely read with this, like Rider-Waite-Smith associations, and then just like take your traditional Rider-Waite-Smith association and then overlay it like over the images you see and see what that changes for you. I think it's a good way to approach it. That's kind of how I've been doing it if I'm not using the guidebook. But to be honest, I am using the guidebook a lot with this one just because I like how it's written. So let's do a sample reading, and then after that I'll show you some pairings that I like. I just want to do a simple past, present, future reading here, and I'll show you what the guidebook says for each card. This reading's not for anybody in particular, it's, you know, it's just to see how the cards look together pretty much. So in past, we have the Three of Cups. Present, we have the High Priestess. And in the future, we have the Knight of Wands. So the Three of Cups says, as the velvet curtain opens, shadows of the soul play out the mysteries of the subconscious. Rose tears and melancholia. The card comes to reveal the artifice we implement in our everyday lives to survive, to belong in this world. The little lies, the way we disguise our words and appearance to move through the world. The High Priestess says, the feminine mystique sits in a temple whose columns are birches, trees bearing eyes on their barks. With the priestess, we become susceptible to visions, and our third eye is wide open. As receptive as an antenna, we sense spirit, shown as the winged tiger descending from the ether to guide and protect us. And the Knight of Wands says, the Knight of Wands has a heart of ember. He defends the sun, and its warm light is the kingdom he serves. His message is more light, and nothing dies under the sun. His sword is a beam of light revealing what's hidden to us and laying bare the truth. He is warm, kind, loyal, and brave. So I really like the art in this deck. Like I said before, I'm a fan of analog collage. I'm a fan of collage in general, and if you're not, obviously this deck is like very much not for you because it's very much a lot of that, and it's quite busy and loud, and it's not always what I'm in the mood for, but when I am in the mood for it, I think this deck does a great job of that. It's really beautifully done. I like all the plants, all the flowers, all the butterflies, all the tigers. It has a very distinct style, which I think is hard for some analog collage decks to achieve, since it is, you know, found images. This deck has a really distinct voice, and I really appreciate it for that. I appreciate the distinct voice that it has, and it's kind of hard to pin your finger, like, I feel like it's not one of those like easily describable like feelings reading with this deck where it's like, oh, you know, this is a Western themed deck, so I feel like I'm in the Wild West when I'm reading with it. It's not like that. Like, it has this very specific feeling when you read with it that is sort of difficult to describe, but if you feel like you'd be interested in it, you probably will really like reading with it. So let me just really quickly show you some decks that I like to pair with it. I'll show you, I wanted to show like a collage deck and then some like drawn decks, because obviously I think most collage decks look pretty good with other collage decks. I just have The Road to Nowhere here, which is out of print, so I'm sorry, but it's the only collage oracle deck I have with me right now because not all my decks are with me. while I'm in school. So I just wanted to show you, just, you know, as to prove evident that it looks good with other collage decks, as you might expect. And while I do this, I also just really quickly want to mention the price. So it is an expensive deck. It's an indie deck. And it was made like following this artist, Laurie Field's exhibition. So the way I think about it is, you know, obviously if you like this deck enough, then it's certainly worth the price. But if you feel any kind of trepidation about it, I would wait on it, because, you know, it's not for everyone, that's for sure. Not everyone likes collage decks, not everyone likes collage decks that are this busy, but if you do like this kind of thing, I do think it is really a great example that's really well done of an analog collage deck. And I always, like, I don't really have a problem with spending a lot of money on like fine art indie decks like this, like especially since this was like for an exhibition. I like to support the artists, you know, as best as I can. And so, like, this is something I would spend my own money on, certainly. I'm really lucky to have had it sent to me, and I'm really grateful for that, because I would have bought it. But yeah, so this is the Road to Nowhere Oracle with it. Obviously, I think it looks really good. And especially because, like, Road to Nowhere is a little bit, like, it has less images. It's definitely busy, but it has, like, less images on each one. And I think that helps kind of balance out the busyness of the Tiger Tarot. So another one that I think would look good is Dirt Gems. This is the indie edition. It's mass market now, right? That's pretty cool. I really like this deck. And again, like, with these pairings, I was sort of drawn to things that are a little more minimalist in style, but I think like Dirt Gems, it is, you know, paintings, but I feel like the fact that they're so flat really looks good with collage decks. Like, look at this. And the black background is really nice too. Oh, yeah, it's nice. This is one of my favorite ones. I've used this one, again, like, this is a very outdoorsy deck too, obviously, and I like to use this with this deck, absolutely. And the last one I just want to show is, it's another Spirit Speak deck. This is the Vessel Oracle, and it has a similar thing going on to Dirt Gems in that it is simple, but again, like, I feel like the handwritten titles and the sort of childlike drawings of this one really work well with the Tiger Tarot. And there's a lot of eyes in both of them, just like in the Tiger Tarot. So I think it's a good match. And especially because these like really clear, simple keywords, I think help parse like the sort of really like heady cosmic, or like make sense of the cosmic vibes and sort of ground them in something, if that's something you think would be helpful with this deck. So that is the Tiger Tarot. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I know when it first came out, it was getting some attention, but I haven't seen people talking about it as much recently, and I just am curious what people's thoughts about it are. So let me know what you think about it. I'm pretty into it. I think it's a very solid addition to my analog collage tarot collection. Thanks for watching.